how do you know when to quit your day job? I've had a lot of success in other areas. There's a lot of people encouraging me, but she says, I like the security of a paycheck. I fear if I put it all into my own thing, here's another thing, my creativity will dry up or everything will go away. So that's the classic fear of I need the stability of a paycheck. And if I do my own thing, I'm going to lose the passion for it. I won't make any money. It's going to be a big mistake. So that's the fear that everybody faces. So here's the deal there. Yes, self-employment was the perfect path for me, and I was stubbornly determined my entire life to get to this position. However, I'll be the first to admit this is not for everyone. Not everyone is meant to be self-employed. Not everyone is willing to, and this is not a put down, but not everyone has the eagerness, I guess, to embrace all the different facets and all the different things you have to do to be self-employed, all the things you have to learn and try to embrace. And so there are people that the day job thing, the stability, the tradition is the right thing for them. And so don't feel bad about that. Just because it worked for me. I'm not saying if you're not self-employed in the arts, you're a loser or you're just working for the man. But I have to just question your motives, though. Are you doing that safety route out of fear and unwarranted fear that maybe you're going to regret in later years? Only you can answer that. If you're at a stage in your life where you have responsibilities, if you have a family and a mortgage and people that are depending on you financially, I totally get you have to take care of those needs, family first. Or just make sure that you're monitoring and asking yourself, what's my real motive here? Is that fear soundly based, or is it just a small voice inside that's denying you a greater purpose that you have in your life? So only you can answer that. There are tons of people that love their day job and they're happy doing what they do, and they do their art on the side, and that fulfills them in some ways. That's fine. You don't have to be a household name and an aggressive marketer and all this stuff just to be satisfied doing your creativity. So my main message is to express yourself in whatever way makes sense for you in your life. The last day job I had, then I quit. I put in my notice and walked away from that 14 years ago. It's 2004. I had a daughter at the time. I was divorced, and so I had responsibilities. So I was not going to frivolously just quit the day job and take the leap of faith. I had to know the money was there. So I waited as I watched my book a revenue increase until I felt confident. I probably waited an extra year beyond where I could have made that leap to save money up and just give myself that cushion. So you have to make sure your financial needs are met. There's been these studies and this research about what's the correlation between money and happiness. I don't know if you've ever heard this, but it used to be $50,000. I think now it's more like $75,000. But money does affect someone's happiness when it involves your basic needs. So if you don't have enough to have shelter, to have food or the clothing or the basic stuff, your life will probably there will be a lot of frustration there. But once those needs are met, you've got a place to live, you've got a car, you've got whatever. The increase in money has less and less effect on someone's happiness. Then it's more the inner work and the personal development work that you have to do to increase your happiness. So what that is make sure that your financial needs are met. So if you have to do a day job, part-time job, you have to wait tables, do whatever you have to do to make sure those needs are met, and then work on your creativity. And if you were like me, wanting and yearning to work for yourself, then just work at it strategically, little by little, chip away at it. So Elizabeth Gilbert did a couple of TED Talks on the creative process. She's the author of Eat, Pray, Love. Huge hit. And then she had a book that came out like a year and a half ago called Big Magic. And a lot of what she writes is along the same lines of what my inspiring messages over the years. But there are a couple of places there where she challenged my own notions, and she encourages you not to put too much pressure on your creativity to pay your bills. She just thinks that's an unfair way of putting too much. It take the joy out of it. I was suddenly determined to find a way to monetize it. I kind of made it not a game, but I was determined to do that. So I don't feel like creativity suffered as a result. But that can happen. And maybe, Michelle, I fear if I put it in my own thing, my creativity would dry up or everything will go away. I think that's unfounded. If you're a creative person, it's going to be there when the time is right, regardless. But I do understand this thing about like people that just quit their job and I'm going to trust, and if things don't work out, I don't know. There can be some struggles. I actually did a YouTube video. Maybe I'll link to it in the comments where I talk about being your own boss and the difference between saying I want to be a full-time musician or a full-time writer as opposed to making a goal to be self-employed, which is different because it opens up the possibilities of how you can make money doing a variety of things that all add up to being able to support yourself. Another awesome person who is taking this 30-day challenge is Marjorie Whitley. So here's what she writes, and this is a conundrum for me too. So I'm excited that you expand into different kinds of creativity. So she's writing to me and speaking about my varied things that I do in the creative world. I write and perform music. I write blogs and short stories and do photography. It's been confusing to me how to integrate all of my creative outlets. I see that you are very well-rounded or rounded too. Would love your input on how to promote all of these things. So yes, I do a lot of different stuff. Lately I've been referring to myself as someone who is self-employed in the arts. Give me a second. And I monetize 4 buckets or 4 areas of creativity. The primary one, as far as income streams go, is I write and publish books and other information resources that are geared for musicians and writers and creative entrepreneurs of all types. I teach them marketing and career advice. I have this whole line of products, 15 books, dozens of ebooks, audiobooks, online courses, and then live workshops, and then programs like the 30-day challenge. And also I'm actually gearing out, ramping up consulting and coaching too with a select number of artists on an ongoing basis. So you'll probably be hearing a little bit more about that. So yeah, so that's one of my main areas. That's one of the 4 buckets, the main one. Another bucket is I've been a musician for 40 years. I continue to play consistently part-time, perform, record, write songs, put out albums just on a part-time basis, but it's something I'm never going to give up because I've always been passionate about music. 3, I do some visual art. And then a thing that's really taken up a lot of my energy and enthusiasm in recent years is I teach and perform improv comedy. So there's classes, and then there's also shows that are available to the public. So there's 4 buckets there, and it's crazy. I don't recommend you do that many things, but I just kind of how it ended up. So here's my advice. How do you do all those things and keep your sanity? And probably also from a public branding perspective, how do you do all of this stuff? So there was a time in the 90s where I was doing even more than that. I was acting in plays and playing in bands, and I was publishing a local music newspaper. I did, yeah. And in addition to some of the stuff that I just mentioned there, and admittedly, I was spreading myself too thin, and I was financially, it wasn't a viable thing because no one thing got enough of my attention and time and energy to gain traction to where I could really, make money and support myself and all that. I was having a blast, creatively fulfilled, but I was just spread all over the place. So I did realize I have to focus. So I looked at all the things that I enjoyed doing, and I basically wanted to find the overlap between what I was passionate about, what I was good at, how I could serve humanity, do some good in the world, and where the overlap between all those things were, and the potential to support myself, and I feel I could have gone in any of those, a number of directions, but I chose books. I chose information products. I was really been a writer since I was a kid. Love music since I was a kid, and so I combined those things and started writing and publishing books. And it took about 4 or 5 years of me working a day job, but 14 years ago I quit that job, and I've been self-employed ever since. And so for me to, especially if you want to make money or make a living from it, I think it helps to focus, or maybe have one. It's not like I didn't stop doing all the other stuff, but it sort of got it on the back burner. I did it when I could, and just put a lot of focus and energy into the books, into spreading my message online. And that was my sort of, that my primary focus. And at the time, I was working a full-time job. My daughter was a toddler. It's like, so when I hear people say, I don't got the time and I have all these responsibilities, I get that. But I was able still to chip away at it little by little and use this new thing called the internet to spread my message and connect with fans little by little over the years, and continue to write and publish things that were for sale. So my best advice, if you're kind of early in your career or you're in a space where you're not overly materially successful, I think it does help to focus on something that's your primary public awareness strategy or your brand. Again, you can do these other things, and try to get that one primary thing up and running and gaining traction. And so once I had the books up and running in recent years for a variety of reasons, I felt compelled for personal satisfaction to explore these things that I've been doing. Like, I've been doing improv since '85. I've been painting off and on since middle school, playing music my entire life. And so they weren't like new things that I brought in to the mix, but I have been bringing in these other things, which make it a little bit more chaotic, but it's also I've rationalized this commingling of all these things because my brand identity is shifted into someone who's an inspiration for creative people of all types. And so again, the way that I rationalize this is because of my position as an author and expert or whatever you want to call it. That's, look, I do all these things, so I'm well qualified to speak to a wide variety of creative people. So that's how I sort of make that work professionally. So I hope that helps. So it's kind of a conundrum. If you're wanting to gain some traction, get some income, I probably would focus on whatever you think is the main thing that's going to do that for you. Again, that overlap of passion and income potential, and doing good in the world, and then focus on that, and then bring the other stuff in as you can, because it is a little crazy. Like I said, I don't recommend that lifestyle or that many variety of things. I hope you found this helpful, and I also hope that we can stay in touch. The best way to do that is via email. That's why I encourage you to get on the Creative Entrepreneur VIP list. It's really easy to do. Just go to promoteyourcreativity.com. Again, that's promoteyourcreativity.com, and I'll give you free access to my 3.5-hour online video course called 30 Ways to Become an Empowered Artist. That's absolutely free, and you'll get some other goodies as well. Again, that's promoteyourcreativity.com. And if you want to support my ongoing efforts to educate, inspire, and empower creative people around the world, please consider becoming a patron. Just go to patreon.com/Bob Baker to find out more about that. So again, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment somewhere here to let me know your thoughts. Hit the like button, share this with someone who could really use this message. And I want to thank you for all you do to express your creativity and share your gifts with the world. I'm Bob Baker, saying so long for now.